So Democrats are now turning on Governor Gavin Newsom for his comments about boys playing in girls' sports. They don't believe it's an actual safety issue. In fact, they're doubling down on the wokeness. Let's take a look.
I was perplexed by the governor because Governor Newsom supported, along with Jerry Brown, a law in California in 2013 that's been on the books for 10 years. And that law says that trans kids do get to participate in sports, K through 12. And we have a California Intercollegiate Federation that sets the standards to balance the inclusion of trans kids with fairness and safety. And so I guess I didn't understand what the governor was saying. And for a decade, he's supported this law. It's still the law on the books. Is he saying we need to repeal that law? I believe that law has worked in California, and I don't think there should be a federal ban. And we should have these state athletic associations like the California Intercollegiate Federation set the standard so that you balance inclusion with fairness and safety.
All right, so there's actually two separate points. My first one is this. Okay, who's lying here? Is it the female athletes who've been protesting against this in California, or is the federation correct? I mean, who are you going to trust more? I think I'm going to go with the athletes who are standing up against this, right? And here's the second issue here is we have proof, okay? There was a female volleyball athlete out of North Carolina who got brain damage. She was part of the joint address to Congress. So I don't think their argument, which is, no, safety is fine. That's not really the issue here. No, that is the issue. Now, Ro Khanna was not the only California Democrat to disagree with the governor. Here is what Adam Schiff had to say.
Do you agree with those in your party who say it is time for Democrats to have a different approach to transgender issues?
Well, first of all, I agree that we should be broadening our reach and talking to people we haven't been talking to. I'm not sure that I would start with Charlie Kirk. But I also think, as I was mentioning earlier, that we need to keep the focus on what matters most to the American people, and that is the economy. We need to be talking to people about how we're going to improve their quality of life, how we can make sure that if they're working hard, they're earning a good living. To the degree that we get away from focusing on those things, I think it's a mistake. In terms of the particular issue that the governor was talking about, look, I played in sports, our kids played in sports. I want all young people to have the experience of playing in sports, every young person, and I want those sports to be fair. I want those sports to be safe. And I have confidence that local schools and local communities can make those decisions without the federal government making them for them.
But is he right on that? Is he right on that?
I think to the degree, though, I think as a political matter, that we remove the focus from where most Americans are concerned, and that is they're concerned about their ability to provide for their family. I think to the degree that we get away from that, that's a mistake.
Well, one, he calls it a mistake. I agree with him. All of it is a mistake. I don't care how you see it on the Democratic side, whether it's Gavin Newsom or Adam Schiff or Ro Khanna, they all have made a mistake on this particular issue. Secondly, again, he believes the community should decide. Well, where was that thinking when it came to COVID? First, they want government to control everything, but not on this issue, right? They want the community to decide. Now, let's hear from Senator Slotkin. She's the person that gave the Democrat response to President Trump's address to Congress. And you guessed it, her answer is literally the same.
Senator, do you agree with Governor Newsom?
Well, look, I think, you'll have to talk to Mr. Newsom and his podcast, and we're all talking about it now because it's, good controversy. For me, I grew up playing 3 seasons of sports. In Michigan, sports is like our religion, right? I wouldn't be here, I think, without the leadership training that I got in women's sports. But for me, it's like, let the local community figure this out, right? In Michigan, we have a process in place where if someone who's born a boy wants to play in women's sports, you have to get a waiver. We've had it happen 2 times in our entire state. So let the local communities, just like everything with schools, handle that issue. For me, though, I think, this issue is being sort of brought up in order to make sparks and see sparks fly.
All right, Senator, let's use your logic against you. Why don't you have that same mindset with the Department of Education? Why don't we just send it back to the states? Why don't we let the communities and the parents decide how they want the education system to be structured for their children? I mean, this is how you're seeing it on the trans issue. You want the communities to police that. Why don't you let them police education? Again, they pick and choose when it makes sense for their party. And this is the problem. They have no leadership, so their message is convoluted at best. There's no consistency. See, with President Trump, you know what you're going to get, okay? Now, this takes us to our next story here, because it's not just the trans issue that Democrats are going to lose on. It's also this CR funding bill for the government that they're about to vote on in this upcoming week. We know Democrats are threatening to shut down the government in an effort to protest Trump's agenda. That's really the bottom line here. And that's why this message from Trump got a lot of people's attention, because he said this: the House and Senate have put together, under the circumstances, a very good funding bill, CR. All Republicans should vote, please, yes, next week. Great things are coming for America, and I'm asking you all to give us a few months to get us through to September so we can continue to put the country's financial house in order. Democrats will do anything they can to shut down our government, and we can't let that happen. We have to remain united, no dissent. Fight for another day when the timing is right. Very important. Make America great again. Now, what's interesting, you're going to see from Democrats oppose this CR, and what that's going to lead to is shutting down the government. So on one hand, back in December, they accused Republicans of doing that, and now they're guilty of doing the same. And I'm going to show you an example. Watch this.
The answer to this is I don't know if they have the votes. I really don't, but I know that we need to vote against it. The Democrats in the Senate need to vote against it. But in fact, yes, if we can, I believe he wants this 1 year continuing resolution so that he can do whatever he wants. We have to try to preclude that in any way we can. Do I believe there are some of my Republican colleagues that feel the same way? Yes, but they're scared. They're scared to death to stand up. And if we want to hold on to what is in the Congress, the power of the purse, it resides there constitutionally. If we want to hold on to that, then we need to thwart him in moving forward on this and not allow him to take over the power of the purse and direct spending.
So I suppose their excuses are, one, that President Trump is trying to act like he is Congress and control spending, when really all he's been doing is cutting government waste. Number two, they believe that they must stop President Trump because he's going to hurt everyday Americans from passing this CR, and that is that they need to stop Republicans from getting the vote that they need to pass this, which leads me to number three. So they believe that shutting the government down is in the best interest of Americans because it's going to stop President Trump from accomplishing the agenda that these Americans voted for, which I find to be funny. And I say all this because I don't believe she's the person that should be speaking for Democrats, especially when she uploads videos like this to social media.
Yo, this is the Ranking Rizzler on Appropriations, serving Connecticut's 3rd District. It's time to enter your dark academia Congress era. All right, besties, House Appropriation is the money moves in Congress. We are not chasing the bag, we are the bag. Democrats are making life smoother through government funding. It's giving, it's giving. So Sigma, main character energy. But Republicans' Project 2025 is mad sus. Eliminating the Department of Education? Negative oracle.
So again, it doesn't land. We know that. It's not really relatable. I don't see the receipts of what they're saying on why they should not vote for this. But again, they're digging their own grave. Now, here is the White House press secretary and what she had to say about the CR.
This week, government funding will run out, and House Republicans have negotiated and led a clean continuing resolution, which President Trump fully supports. And he is counting on Republicans on Capitol Hill to work together to unite to get this clean CR passed. On November 5th, the American people gave Republicans and President Trump a historic, overwhelming mandate to govern. And it would be a gift to the Democrats to allow them to shut down the government and therefore shut down the momentum that President Trump and Republicans have built over the last 7 weeks. So this clean CR, we need it to pass. It effectively curbs spending, freezes spending, while allowing the government to continue to function, allowing ICE agents and Border Patrol to continue their mass deportation effort, allows President Trump's cabinet to continue to identify waste, fraud, and abuse across the federal bureaucracy. So the president supports the CR, and we're hopeful and can expect Republicans to get on board so we can pass it and continue moving forward implementing President Trump's agenda.
So really, there's actually two issues. One is centered around Democrats and how they plan to oppose this. And I think it's a lose-lose for them, because if they go along with this, then that pretty much breaks their argument in half. And if they oppose this, then they are being hypocrites, because this is what they accused Republicans of doing last year. And then the second issue is Republicans. Clearly, Rand Paul is one of them, who's not going to go along with this, because they just don't believe in the way that the Trump administration is approaching the budget and the spending when it comes to the federal government. So it's going to be interesting to see what actually happens. But I find to be more interesting right now is how you do have Democrats acknowledging the disarray that the party is in. Let's hear an example of that.
Who would you say is the leader of the Democratic Party right now?
Look, I mean, people know me. I'm pretty straightforward. I don't think it's a secret that Democrats have been on their heels since Trump won the election, right? I don't think that's something hidden. And I think it's on us to be clear about not only leadership, and there's lots of leaders in both parties, but also a strategy, right? And I think that's something that as Trump has been successful in flooding the zone and just like every day 15 things happening, we are still finding our footing. And I think you can't get better until you admit you have a problem. And for me, that's one of the things that I think some of the new voices in the party have really been agitating about.
So it seems that she's seen the writing on the wall, that this is not going great for Democrats. And one could argue that nothing's going to go great for them until 4 years from now. Maybe then they'll actually have a leader and they'll actually be a unified message, and maybe they will move back to the center. And that's a huge maybe at this point. Now, believe it or not, here is Adam Shifty, right, as President Trump would say. He also acknowledges that it was a lack of a coordinated response when they tried to protest President Trump at that joint address to Congress.
Well, I think the lack of a coordinated response to the State of the Union was a mistake. And frankly, it took the focus off of where it should have been, which is on the fact that the president spoke for an hour and 40 minutes and had nothing to say about what he would do to bring down costs for American families that were watching that lengthy address, sitting at the kitchen table, hoping that he would offer something to help them afford a new home or pay the rent, to afford health care or child care. There was nothing in it for the American people. And that's where we need to keep our focus.
I mean, Democrats, they're just in such a hole here. I mean, you claim that people can't afford their home or health care or any of these things, but you guys were just in power. President Trump has only been in the White House for, 50 days? He didn't cause what people are struggling with right now. You guys did that. So trying to pin it on him and say, well, he's the person that caused all this and he needs to fix it, is out of this world, of course. And that's why it's a lose-lose for them at this point. They put themselves in this position. Now, here's President Trump. He did an interview this morning, and he gave his reaction to what happened during that joint address to Congress.
When I looked the other night, I made a speech. The Republicans were going wild, and the Democrats were having their little signs up, little tiny signs. And I said, it's unbelievable. They don't get it. They don't get it now. And I think they're going to end up being a minor party if they keep going like this, because people don't want to hear about these stupid ideas that they have. Transgender for everybody. And again, the men and women's sports, what is that, a 90-10 deal? I don't even know who the 10 would be. But they're fighting for it. And I try and say to myself, because you always like to understand where your opponent is, whether it's in business or anything else, is there something I don't understand? But we don't understand it.
And what's fascinating is the Democratic Party, they clearly don't understand the average everyday American who is not really politically obsessed. They don't really think of themselves as Republican or Democrat. They're just trying to get by, pay their taxes, make enough money. They care for their family. They have goals, aspirations, like Kamala Harris would say. They don't understand these people because they continue to double down on issues that those individuals don't agree with. Okay, that's what the numbers show. Now, let me give you an example. Here's Andrew Schultz and Charlemagne discussing how people just don't believe what Democrats are saying.
See, the thing about the Democrats now, some of them you can't take serious, because where was all of this common sense when it wasn't popular? when it wasn't popular in your party. Like now that they see politically, it cost them. Now they all pivoting. So what are you doing? You're just playing politics.
Exactly.
What did you actually believe? Did you always think this shit was silly?
So then say that so we could trust you. But if you don't say it, it's going to be very difficult for us to trust you.
I would love to see somebody go on TV and be like, look, man, finally, I can tell you what I can tell you what I really feel about this shit. Just say it. I know it wasn't good for us politically to say it, but now that we know how bad it cost us, I never was with that shit.
Yo, we will trust that person.
But, yo, it's okay to admit you was wrong. But don't just pivot and act like you knew this all along.
Not only is it okay to admit you're wrong, it is what allows us to connect to you.
That's right.
We will give you shit, of course, and you got to go through a little shit. But the fact that you acknowledge you're wrong will make me feel like you're a real human. And I, at the end of the day, want to connect with a real fucking human.
And I know everybody out there right now is saying, well, Donald Trump never admits that he's wrong. The winner never has to.
Yeah, see, they're talking about something that Democrats are allergic of doing, which is taking any level of responsibility. I mean, let's just be honest. That's not in their nature at this point. And I find that on the right, we're more likely to criticize each other, take responsibility, call out individuals that are leaders in the Republican Party when they do something we don't agree with. You don't see that on the left, I guess, until this trans issue has come up because of Gavin Newsom. Now they disagree with each other. I find that to be interesting. That is what is actually going to do it for them. Okay, this leads me to the question of this video. What do you think of these Democrats coming out and disagreeing with Gavin Newsom? Do you believe that's a smart strategy on their behalf? We know we don't agree or believe anything that comes out of Newsom's mouth, but what do you think of them disagreeing with him? Let me know what your thoughts are about all that in the comment section below. Now, Democrats also have other problems on their hands because Elon Musk exposed yesterday that ActBlue has been funding the violent protests that have been setting Tesla superchargers on fire and vandalizing Tesla dealerships. This is all coming to light. If you missed out on that story and more from yesterday, all you have to do is click on that video because it's coming up right now.